I swear I heard it. A whisper, just barely audible, like dry leaves skittering across cobblestones. It came from the castle, perched atop the windswept hill overlooking the village. They called it the Castle of Whispering Bones, and everyone knew to avoid it after dark. Old Man Hemlock, his face etched with wrinkles like a withered apple, told stories of the horrors within, of bones that spoke secrets of the dead, of shadows that danced with the damned. The iron gate creaked open with a groan that seemed to echo through my very soul. The courtyard was overgrown with weeds, the stone fountain choked with moss. The air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and something else, something metallic, like old blood. The whispers were louder now, circling me, weaving tales of forgotten tragedies. I felt a chill crawl down my spine, a primal fear clawing at the edges of my courage. But I pressed on, drawn deeper into the castle's embrace by an unseen force. Inside, the castle was a labyrinth of echoing hallways and crumbling chambers. Moonlight filtered through shattered stained glass windows, painting the floor in fragments of color. Each step sent dust motes swirling into the air, dancing in the eerie light. The whispers were constant now, swirling around my head like a swarm of insects. I could almost make out words, snippets of conversations, pleas for help. The metallic scent was stronger here, clinging to the cold stone walls like a shroud. I found a grand hall, its ceiling lost in the shadows above. A massive fireplace dominated one wall, its hearth cold and filled with ashes. Scattered across the floor were bones, human bones, I realized with a sickening lurch in my stomach. Some were complete skeletons, others just fragments, scattered like macabre confetti. And from them, the whispers emanated, a chorus of the dead. I felt a cold hand grip my heart, squeezing the breath from my lungs. I stumbled back, my hand flying to my mouth to stifle a scream. One skull lying near my foot turned to face me. Its empty sockets seemed to bore into my soul. And then I heard it, clear as a bell, a voice whispering directly into my ear. "Leave," it rasped, "before it's too late." I turned and ran, my heart pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. The whispers chased me, growing louder, more insistent. I could feel their icy breath on the back of my neck, their skeletal fingers reaching for me. I burst out of the castle and into the night, the whispers fading behind me. I didn't stop running until I reached the village, collapsing at the edge of the forest, gasping for breath. I never went back to the Castle of Whispering Bones. The memory of that night haunted my dreams, the whispers echoing in my mind. Years passed. I tried to forget, to bury the memory of the whispers, the bones, the chilling voice. But the castle was always there, a dark silhouette against the horizon, a constant reminder of my youthful folly. One day, a group of adventurers came to the village, bold young men and women eager to explore the castle. They asked me about it, about the whispers. I warned them, told them of the horrors within, but they just laughed, dismissing my words as the ramblings of an old man. They climbed the hill, their laughter echoing in the still air. I watched them go, a sense of dread settling over me. I knew they wouldn't listen. No one ever did. Night fell. I waited. The whispers started again, soft at first, then growing louder, more insistent. Dawn broke, painting the sky in hues of gray and pink. The adventurers didn't return. I went back to the castle. The gate was open. The courtyard was silent, except for the whispers. I found them in the grand hall, scattered amongst the other bones. Their skeletons, picked clean, joined the chorus of the whispering dead. And then I understood. The whispers weren't warnings, they were invitations. I swear the air itself crackled with something unnatural that night. It was cold, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and settles there, a damp, clinging chill despite the summer air. I was on patrol, just me and my shadow stretching long and thin across the cobblestones of the outer ward. Castle Drakenhof loomed above me, a jagged silhouette against the bruised purple sky. The first sign was the smell, metallic like blood, but different, sweeter somehow. It wafted from the direction of the stables, growing stronger with each step I took. My hand instinctively went to the hilt of my sword. I'd seen my share of battles, fought off bandits and wild beasts, but this felt different. This felt unholy. The closer I got, the more pronounced the metallic tang became, mingled with the stench of burning flesh. What I saw inside those stables, gods, I wish I could unsee it. The horses, magnificent war horses, lay slaughtered, not simply killed, but twisted. Their limbs were contorted at unnatural angles, their eyes wide and glazed over with a milky film. Their air hung thick with the coppery tang of blood and that sickly sweet smell, stronger than ever. But the horses weren't the worst of it. In the center of the carnage, something shifted, something large, something dark. The shadows coalesced, solidifying into a hulking form. It was humanoid, but wrong, too tall, too broad. Its skin was the color of charcoal, stretched taut over bulging muscles. Two crimson eyes, burning like embers, fixed on me. And then it spoke, not with words, but with a guttural rasp, a sound that seemed to claw at the edges of my sanity. The sound echoed the whispers of the curse, a dragon's rage, a knight's doom. My grip tightened on my sword, my knuckles white. It lunged, faster than anything I'd ever seen. It crossed the space between us, its clawed hand reaching for me. I barely managed to parry the blow, the force of the impact sending vibrations up my arm. The creature roared, a sound that ripped through the night, and the fight began. It was a whirlwind of steel and shadow, of guttural growls and the clang of my sword against its hardened hide. I fought with the desperation of a cornered animal, knowing that if I faltered, even for a second, I was dead. I managed to land a blow, slicing across its chest. Black, ichorous blood oozed from the wound, but the creature didn't even flinch. It seemed to draw strength from the violence, its attacks growing fiercer, more relentless. I was tiring, my arm growing heavy, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The metallic stench of blood, both mine and the creature's, filled the air. I knew I couldn't keep this up for much longer. It grabbed my arm, its grip like iron. I cried out as it squeezed, bones grinding together. I could feel the strength draining out of me, the fight leaving my body. The creature's face, if you could call it a face, was inches from mine. Its red eyes burned into me, and I saw something in their depths, something beyond rage, beyond hunger. It was amusement. Then it whispered, a rasping, guttural whisper that seemed to vibrate in my very skull. "Join us," it hissed, the sound echoing the whispers of the curse. And for a moment, just a moment, I felt drawn to it. A strange, unsettling pull towards the darkness, towards the abyss staring back at me from its crimson eyes. I don't know what happened next. One moment I was staring into its eyes, feeling that horrifying pull, the next, blackness, a void. Then a searing pain like fire coursing through my veins. I screamed, a raw, animalistic sound, and then nothing. When I woke, I was different. The world seemed sharper, colors more vivid. I felt stronger. But there was a hollowness inside me, a cold emptiness where my heart used to be. And the smell, that sickly, sweet, metallic smell, it was coming from me. I looked down at my hands. They were changing. The skin was darkening, turning the color of charcoal. My fingers were elongating, sharpening into claws. I tried to scream, but only a guttural rasp escaped my throat, the same rasp I had heard from the creature. I staggered to my feet, my body no longer my own. I looked at the carnage around me, at the slaughtered horses, and felt nothing. No remorse, no horror, only a cold, empty satisfaction. Then I heard it, the rhythmic lapping of the waves against the cliff face. The same sound I had heard before, but now it was different. It was a call, a beckoning. I stumbled towards the sound, towards the cliffs, towards the sea. The dragon's curse, the knight's bane. It wasn't a curse, it was a transformation. And I was its newest recruit. I should have known better than to wander into the whispering woods after dark. My grandmother's tales of goblins trading in stolen dreams and whispered promises echoed in my ears, but curiosity, that damned itch, propelled me deeper. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of overripe fruit and something metallic. A faint melody drifted from the heart of the woods, a sickly, sweet lullaby that promised untold delights. It was market night, I realized with a chill. The path twisted and turned, leading me deeper into the gloom. Twisted trees clawed at the sky, their branches intertwined like grasping hands. Strange, bioluminescent fungi pulsed with an unnerving light, casting long, dancing shadows that seemed to shift and writhe with a life of their own. The air grew colder, biting at my skin, and the sweet, cloying scent intensified, making my stomach churn. I could hear the market now, a cacophony of whispers, guttural laughter, and the clinking of unseen coins. I stumbled into a clearing bathed in an unsettling green light. Stalls overflowing with strange wares lined the edges of the clearing, manned by creatures that could only be described as goblins. Short, hunched figures with pointed ears and greedy eyes, they beckoned me closer with promises of unimaginable treasures. Their voices were like nails on a chalkboard, grating and unsettling. One held up a shimmering gem, another a vial filled with swirling, iridescent liquid. A goblin with skin like tree bark and eyes like chips of obsidian approached me, a sly smile twisting its lips. It held out a small wooden box, its surface intricately carved with twisting vines and grotesque faces. "A bargain, young man," it rasped, its voice like dry leaves skittering across pavement. "A treasure beyond your wildest dreams for a mere trifle." I hesitated, my hand hovering over the box. What trifle could they possibly want? "What's inside?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. The goblin's smile widened, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth. "Happiness," it hissed, the word laced with a disturbing undercurrent. "Eternal bliss. All you need to do is give us a memory, a single, insignificant memory." My heart pounded in my chest. A memory. It seemed like a small price to pay for eternal happiness. But which one? I thought of my childhood, of sunny days spent playing in fields of wildflowers, of my grandmother's warm embrace. The memories flickered before my eyes, precious and fragile. Which one could I bear to lose? The goblin seemed to sense my hesitation. Its eyes narrowed, and its voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. "Choose wisely," it hissed. "For once it's gone forever." I closed my eyes, trying to block out the unsettling melody and the goblin's leering faces. A memory surfaced, a seemingly insignificant one, the feeling of warm sand between my toes as a child, building sandcastles on a sunny beach. It was a fleeting memory, a sensory echo, nothing more. "That one," I whispered, pointing to the vague image in my mind. The goblin grinned, its eyes glinting with triumph. The goblin snatched the memory from my mind with a swift, unseen motion. A strange hollowness filled the space where it had been, a chilling void. The goblin snapped the box shut and pressed it into my hand. "Pleasure doing business," it rasped, its voice dripping with false cordiality. I opened the box, my hands trembling with anticipation. Inside, nestled on a bed of velvet, lay a single, perfect seashell. I stared at it, confused. Eternal happiness. This. A wave of nausea washed over me. The goblins cackled, their laughter echoing through the clearing. The melody twisted into a mocking, discordant tune. I felt a strange pressure in my head, a growing sense of unease. I stumbled back, dropping the box. The seashell rolled out, clattering onto the ground. The goblins continued to laugh, their eyes glittering with malicious amusement. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. I turned and ran, pushing my way through the swirling fog, desperate to escape the oppressive atmosphere of the market. I burst out of the woods, gasping for breath, the mocking laughter of the goblins still ringing in my ears. The moon hung high in the sky, casting long, eerie shadows across the familiar landscape. I was safe, but the feeling of unease persisted, a cold knot in my stomach. I reached my hand up to wipe the sweat from my brow, but my fingers brushed against something smooth and cold. A seashell, identical to the one from the box. Panic seized me. I looked down at my hands, turning them over and over. They were covered in sand. I tried to remember the beach, the warm sand between my toes, the sand castles I had built. But the memory was gone, erased, replaced by the chilling certainty that I was no longer myself. I was something else. A chilling whisper echoed in my mind, not my own, but the goblin's raspy voice. "Eternal bliss, young man. You're one of us now." I looked down at my hands again. They were smaller, gnarled, the skin turning a sickly green. My fingers twitched, nails lengthening into sharp claws. I opened my mouth to scream, but only a guttural chuckle escaped, a sound that chilled me to the bone. The last vestiges of my human self faded away, replaced by a gnawing hunger, a craving for memories. And as I turned back towards the whispering woods, I knew my next bargain would be far more costly. I swear something's been off about this town lately. It started subtly, a shift in the air, like the moment right before a thunderstorm. People seem edgier. Conversations end abruptly when I walk by. Shopkeepers avoid eye contact. Even the dogs, usually so friendly, now just growl and slink away. I chalked it up to small-town paranoia at first. You know, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone else's business. But it's more than that. Last night I heard it. A low, guttural growl outside my window. It wasn't a dog, not anything I'd ever heard before. It sounded inhuman. I jumped out of bed, heart pounding, and peered through the blinds. Nothing. Just the empty street bathed in the sickly yellow glow of the streetlight. But the feeling remained, a cold dread clinging to me like a shroud. I tried to rationalize it, told myself it was just the wind, a stray animal. But deep down, I knew better. Something was out there. This morning, Mrs. Henderson, the old lady who lives across the street, vanished. Just gone. Her front door was wide open, her breakfast still on the table, half-eaten. The police say she probably wandered off, that she's got a bit of dementia. But I saw her yesterday, clear as day, tending her roses. She seemed fine. And besides, where would she wander to? This town is surrounded by miles of dense forest. No one just wanders off into that. I went to the sheriff's office, tried to tell him about the growling, the unease, Mrs. Henderson. He just patted me on the shoulder and told me not to worry, that these things happen sometimes. He said old folks get confused, wander off. He dismissed me like I was some kind of crackpot, but I saw it in his eyes, a flicker of something. Fear, maybe, or recognition, like he knew something he wasn't telling me. I started noticing the symbols. Crudely drawn, chalk-white markings on the sides of buildings, fences, even the pavement. They look like, I don't know, ancient runes maybe. I've never seen anything like them before. They weren't there yesterday, I'm sure of it. I tried to take pictures, but they just came out blurry like the camera couldn't focus. It's like they're not real, or not entirely real anyway. I haven't slept properly in days. Every creak of the house, every rustle of leaves outside my window sends me into a panic. I keep seeing things in the periphery of my vision, fleeting shadows that disappear when I turn to look. I'm starting to think I'm losing my mind. Or maybe, just maybe, this town is. Tonight, the growling returned, louder this time, closer. I could feel the vibrations through the floorboards. I grabbed a kitchen knife, my hand shaking so badly I could barely hold it. I crept to the window, peered through the blinds, and then I saw it. It was tall, impossibly tall, shrouded in the fog. I could only make out its silhouette, a humanoid shape with long, spindly limbs. It moved with an unnatural grace, gliding rather than walking. And the eyes, those burning red eyes, they bored into me, filled with a malevolence that chilled me to the bone. It raised a hand, its long, skeletal fingers reaching towards my window. I stumbled back, dropping the knife, my breath caught in my throat. I couldn't scream. I couldn't move. I could only watch as it came closer. The window shattered, glass spraying everywhere. I screamed then, a primal shriek of terror. The creature lunged, its icy grip closing around my arm. I could smell its breath, a foul, korsahun, stench of decay. And then, darkness. I woke up on the floor, my head throbbing, the room bathed in the pale light of dawn. The window was intact, no sign of forced entry. The knife lay beside me, gleaming innocently. Had I imagined it all? A nightmare brought on by stress and lack of sleep. I went outside, expecting to see the shattered glass, some evidence of the creature's attack. But there was nothing. The street was quiet, the fog had lifted, and the morning sun glinted off the dew-covered grass. Everything seemed normal, too normal. Then I saw it. A single chalk-white symbol drawn on my front door, the same symbol I'd seen all over town. But this one was different. It was smudged as if something had brushed against it. Something tall, something with long, spindly fingers. I looked down at my arm. There on my forearm were 5 long, deep scratches. They weren't bleeding, not anymore. They were a sickly, pale white, the same color as the symbols, and they were arranged in the same pattern. I looked up at the empty street, at the houses with their closed windows and silent doors, and I realized it wasn't just among us. It was in us. It had always been in us, and now it was starting to show.